Good afternoon and welcome everybody to the very first Ask Me Anything presented by the Emerging Professionals Committee of the American Society of Landscape Architects. This is a new format that we hope to develop into an ongoing resource for landscape architecture students and emerging professionals. So thank you for joining us today. My name is Daniel Martin. I'm the Director of Marketing at Permalock. I'm going to be your host today and moderate for you. Also joining me from the committee is Amy Syverson from Socorro Wells Appel. I'm going to let thank you, and here is Amy.
Hey, hi everybody. So I'm Amy Syverson from Socorro Wells Appel, and I'm also serving on the ASLA Emerging Professionals Committee with Daniel. We decided to do our first Ask Me Anything event based on human resources issues because we feel like it's something that is really common to human resources, to emerging professionals across the country. So want to introduce everybody that's here with us today. You see our first panelist. Okay, so our first panelist, we have 4 today, is going to be Anna Adamski from EDSA. Hi, Anna. A native of Pennsylvania, Anna discovered her passion for human resources through her interactions with employees and the day-to-day inner workings of corporate life. After shadowing a Fortune 500 company during her first year of college, she knew her future lay in facilitating the connections between personnel. She earned her bachelor's degree in human resources management in 2010 and her master's of business administration in 2013 from Rider University before entering the workforce as a human resources professional. EDSA's distinctive corporate culture and the natural respect, collaboration, and creative spirit found in its employees were what drew Anna to her current position as human resources generalist at their Fort Lauderdale headquarters. Through her strong people skills and passion for human interaction, Anna acts as a catalyst between the artistic and innovative minds at EDSA and the corporate culture that defines the business. Adding to the international dynamic at EDSA, Anna speaks fluent Russian and is an integral part of EDSA's diverse staff. So welcome, Anna.
Thank you so much for having us, and thank you for organizing this. We're excited to hear about your questions, and hopefully we can answer some for you today.
Great, thanks. Our second panelist is Amy Boyle of Design Workshop. Amy Boyle started her career in human resources and recruiting before joining Design Workshop in Aspen in 2014 as Human Resources Specialist. A graduate of St. Michael's College, where she obtained a degree in French, she acquired her Professional in Human Resources certification in 2014 and her SHRM Certified Professional certification in 2015. Amy is most passionate about talent management, employee engagement, and learning initiatives. Welcome, Amy. Amy, I think you were on mute. Can you say hello again?
Let me do that.
Sure, so I'm sure we're having a couple of technical difficulties for our first live hangout, so welcome, we're glad to have you. Okay, great. Up next is Jason Cupp. Jason Cupp is a former CEO turned Colby certified growth consultant, team builder, and motivational speaker. He travels almost constantly, talking about everything from sales and marketing to crisis management. To clients in almost any industry, including extensive work in human resources. Jason has managed thousands of employees through hundreds of companies he's worked with. His knowledge, experience, and approachability has put him in front of thousands of people and businesses across North America and Europe. Hello, Jason.
Hey, Amy. Thanks so much for having me. I am so excited to interact with not only the students and folks that are on this call, but also these awesome panelists, these thought leaders that I get to learn something from as well. So thanks so much to you and Daniel for having me in ASLA as well. Excited to be here.
Thanks, Jason. Okay, and our fourth panelist today is Kimberly Shintrey from Cohen and Partners. As the operations director at Cohen and Partners, Kimberly leads the financial management and human resources development of the firm while overseeing day-to-day operations. She tirelessly champions elements of the firm's culture, such as transparency and empowerment, which support shared belief in the power of collaboration. Kim works with the team to apply the same rigorous practices that lead to strong design to the design of office systems, challenging dated notions of what it means to work at a design firm, while fostering innovation, experimentation, and questioning in the realms of team and culture. Kimberly received her Bachelor of Arts degree in Management with high distinction from the Liberal Arts campus of the University of Minnesota. Welcome, Kimberly.
Hi, Amy. Thank you, Amy, Daniel, Hillary, and the ASLA for hosting today's event. I'm honored to be included on today's panel, and it's exciting that the first of the Ask Me Anything series is on the wide-reaching topic of human resources. The profession is evolving so quickly, so I think it's a great time to be having today's conversation. I'm looking forward to getting into it.
All right, great. Thank you. So also joining us is Hillary Hansel from Smith Group JJR. And as Daniel earlier said, Hillary is the third member of our working group for the ASLA Emerging Professionals Committee. And she will be monitoring questions on YouTube. So if anybody's tuning in for the YouTube live broadcast, you can leave questions there in the comment bar. And it looks like just leave questions in the comment bar, and Hillary will be able to pull those up into the live broadcast that we're doing through Google. And then also, if anybody can sign on through Google Hangouts, the way that you leave questions there is just to go to the right side of the Hangout, and at the bottom there's a button that says Ask a Question, and click there and you'll be able to post the Q&A. Okay, so without further ado, the Q&A is open, so I'm going to pass it over to Daniel to moderate.
Glad to have you all here, our panelists. We've got a great group ready to answer your questions. So please, definitely feel free to ask away, and we are happy to address your concerns. But we're going to start off with a few questions just to get things going. So let's start off with one that's probably a great starting point. What are you looking for in a candidate? So that could be a lot of things. We'll kind of let each of our panelists address that one, perhaps. Let's go ahead and start with Amy Boyle, and let's see, what are you looking for in a candidate? I know it's a general question, but you can give us a general answer.
Sounds good. So I have to say that right off the bat, when I'm reviewing candidates, I'm looking for a depth and breadth of skill sets and experiences. It's really no magic formula. Obviously, the strength of any candidate is in the diversity of their experience and skill sets. But I'm really looking for someone who's well-rounded, who has leadership experience, who has perhaps had a prior internship, who's been an active participant in numerous college or community activities, to really make what we call and refer to as a Swiss Army knife. Someone who can do it all, and someone who can really jump in with 2 feet and hit the ground running.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Let's throw that same question over to Kimberly.
Sure. Yeah, that was something I think we definitely look for as well. Probably one of the hallmarks of something I'm looking for, right up there with design talent. That natural creativity and a well-developed aesthetic to go along with it. But our firm also seeks a collaborative nature and work ethic as well. And we're a team that thrives on collaboration, and I think the industry in general thrives on it. So we're always looking for team players. So it's the person who rises to the top of their game, but does so while working well with others.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to let Anna cover that too real quick, and then we'll follow up with Jason to get kind of a more 30,000 foot, maybe not directly architecture firm too. But Anna, why don't you go ahead and cover what you're looking for?
Sure. Just to add to what the ladies have already said, maybe in addition, we're looking for someone that will stand out. So whether that's their portfolio or their personality, we want something to remember you by. So find a way to make yourself look different.
Great. And Jason, what do you think makes a stellar candidate in general for human resources?
Yeah, Dan, I think that's a really great question. And for me, who I do a lot of hiring for all kinds of different companies, including in the green industry and the landscape architecture industry, I really look at three key pillars, and they're weighted equally. I look at does the candidate really fit the company culturally? So that would be personality and how driven they are, and the way that they communicate. Is there a good fit culturally? And I also look at skill, which would be certifications and education and experience, and where did you do internships, and that is equal to me. So it's culture, then it's skill, and then also what's that person's kind of natural driving instincts, and how are they naturally wired? And when I'm doing hiring, I take candidates through all three of those, and I think that are the key pillars, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 of who I'm looking for in the key candidate. And oftentimes, if we hit 1/3, 1/3 are equal, then it's a great candidate for that company and that firm, and we go ahead and move on to the next stage of the analysis of hiring somebody.
All right. All technical difficulty here. Bear with me 1 second.
We can hear you. I can hear you.
All right. All right. I'm going to ask the next question and throw it to somebody real quick. This actually came from one of our viewers. What are some of the most common mistakes you see applicants either do? And let's let Anna cover that.
I'm sorry, I missed that question. You got muted out.
Yep. We're looking for what common mistakes do you see in interviews, portfolios, resumes?
Sure. If we're looking at the portfolio or the resume, sometimes it's as simple as a grammar mistake or something misspelled. What we like to say is, see your best work and only your best work. So make sure that you review it or have someone review your portfolio and your resume before you submit it, and make sure that you show your entire thought process and design process before you submit your work.
Okay, thank you. Let Bill. Oh, can you hear me, Amy? All right. Okay, I want to throw that same question to Amy Boyle, looking for what kind of common mistakes you see applicants make. Maybe specifically at like portfolio and resumes. What? Because that's maybe before they're even in the interview. Something that may be a common mistake that makes you turned off to a candidate.
Well, to echo Anna, I have to say that if I see a candidate applying to our firm and they've listed right there that they're actually applying to another firm, that's an immediate turnoff. You know, I can't, no matter how good a candidate's resume and portfolio is, if their cover letter says they're applying to another firm, I simply can't pass that along to our hiring managers in good faith. So I would say don't let those small little things like typos and grammar mistakes and addressing your, referencing the firm that you're not actually applying to in that same letter. Don't let those little things overshadow what a talented designer and student that you are and have been. So I would have to say that's what I think of immediately. On kind of a higher level, I would have to say that not highlighting all of the things that you're capable of is certainly something that may trip you up in the long run. You know, we don't want it to be a portfolio pageant, as we refer to it, but we certainly want to see something that catches our eye. I want to look at your portfolio and get a real sense of who you are as a designer, what your own personal aesthetic is and is like. So I think when candidates maybe only show little glimpses of what they're capable of, you know, it's hard to really understand who they are as a full person. So I would not let that trip you up. And then finally, in your interview, I wouldn't let, you know, similar, show your wide range of experiences, make yourself stand out. Of course, it's very difficult to become a real person to a recruiter on paper. So do whatever you can to make yourself stand out and jump off the page. And I can't stress it enough, but really just show me the whole parabola of your skill set and experience and what you could truly bring to the firm. Personalize it. Make everything refer back to why you are a great candidate for what job you are applying for at what firm.
Great. I want to ask you, kind of following up on that same question, do you have a good example of somebody who just blew it on a resume or did something just like a crazy mistake?
Sorry, who was that question towards?
Jason.
Jason.
Yeah, I have got a million of them. You know, I mean, really echoing what Amy and Anna were already saying is that I'm shocked at times, and if you follow me on Facebook, I sometimes like block out people's names and post their emails because of how ridiculous they are. It's really hilarious. But the thing is that for everyone who is on here and you see an ad that you're interested in that company, the thing that I can encourage you to add and to actually send the information that the hiring person is asking for. I specifically in my ads ask for information just to see if the candidate is actually going to put that in the packet that includes a resume, but it also might include, hey, answer these 3 questions. Because my ideology on it is that if I ask these 3 questions and they're not going to take the time to answer 3 very simple questions and include that in the hiring packet, then how are they going to perform in a position for my client or for my company or for the application that they're that they're hiring for? But I can tell you that I won't waste our bandwidth on some of the areas, major issues that I've seen with applications. I mean, I had one recently, actually, Dan, you might have seen it, I posted it on my Facebook, was that I literally had an applicant use profanity in an email to me, had attached, sent from a dummy email address and attached lewd and inappropriate cartoon characters to the application, and it's like, you really think that you're going to go and get a job? You really honestly think that I'm going to even consider you because you didn't like my ad? You didn't like some things in my ad? You're going to call me out on it? And I dozens of stories like that because there's a reason that some people are unemployed, and it's exactly those things. So again, I won't take up a lot of bandwidth because I could spend the rest of the afternoon telling stories about that.
All right, thank you. We have another question from a viewer that came in, and I'll throw this one over to Kimberly. What are some tips when interviewing? So what are things that people should know?
Sure, it kind of stems back to the interview process in general.
Yeah.
Sorry, I get your feet a little bit off and on, but it kind of goes back to the process in general. I mean, it's target a place that you really want to be at, or target a few places that you really want to be at, and then to carry that all the way through to the interview. Just like we want to see a real person on a resume and in a cover letter and an entire submittal, when we see you in person, we all the more want to see a real person. We don't just care about your skills. You're looking for a fit. You're looking for a fit with the culture, with the team, with the aesthetic even of the firm. So show up with who you are. And because if it's not a good fit, it's not good for you any more than it is for the company that's looking to hire you, and it'll just be even worse down the road if you hire the wrong person, for not only for the company but for the individual. So that'd be the best advice. Just be yourself. Be a real person.
Daniel, if I can piggyback onto that, I just always tell people to remember that interviewing is a two-way street. If you're not comfortable there, you really have to consider that into your decision-making process. You know, we spend an awful lot of time at work. Quite often, you know, our lines between work and home are blurred. In today's day and age with technology, you better be happy there, and you better really make sure that you can see yourself growing and thriving there. So I always personally find that to be a little bit comforting. It's a two-way street. Everyone's interviewing each other, and it's really just a conversation at that.
Right, and I could say, you know, it's important to do your homework before you interview. You want to do some research about the firm so that, one, you can impress us, and you learn a little bit about the firm and know whether or not it's a place where you can see yourself really working and enjoying your career.
Here's a question: if you in getting a job or becoming employed there, what is the best way to get connected to your firm? What's the best way for them to reach out and make that initial contact? And let's let Anna. You can go ahead and continue with that.
Sure. For us, you know, EDSA goes to a lot of conferences. We visit a lot of schools. The best thing you can do is go visit at a conference. When we're out recruiting, make sure you stop by and say hello. If you're ever in the area, please reach out to our HR department and tell us you want a tour of our office. We love that. And it shows us that, you know, you're determined. This is something that you want. You know what EDSA is, and we've had people track us, you know, from their freshman year of college up until they're ready to graduate. So we're able to build that relationship and really stay in touch with them to the point of when they're ready to start their career.
All right. Amy, do you have anything to add to that?
I would, like Anna said, again, I'm echoing her intelligent thoughts. But technology is an amazing thing. You know, every company these days has a variety of platforms in which you can use and fully utilize to connect. Just stay apprised of what's going on at that company. You know, not only are there Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, but oftentimes every firm's careers page will have a newsletter that you can sign up for. Our recruiting databases have you know, entire pages devoted to just keeping familiar with what's happening at the firm. So there are so many different ways to do it outside of that personal touch. And, you know, eventually those roads will usually lead to some sort of introduction as well.
All right. Kind of along the same lines. So once they make contact and they have, you know, applied to something with you, send in a resume and application, what is the best way for someone to follow up on that resume or application, and how many times should they attempt to follow up before, you know, they become annoying or too much work? Kimberly, I'll let you start with that.
Sure. Oh, I have to take a step back on this one too, because I have to say that put your effort into your submittal, because no amount of persistence on the back end can make up for the submittal that didn't impress on the front end. Honestly, we receive tons of applications, but I review every single one that comes through, or one of my peers does. So if you put your energy into your actual application, it'll get through, it'll get noticed. If you don't put as much energy in and there's a mistake and you continue to follow up, yes, we might go back and reference it again, but all we're going to do is reference something that we don't want to hire. So put your energy where it matters.
All right, Jason, I'm going to let you follow up on that same.
Yeah, you know, I totally agree that And I think that that one of the things that is always very impressive for me is at the end of an interview, a face-to-face interview, or even a telephone interview, for the applicant to say, what's the next step of your hiring process? What's the timing? So we have mutual expectations, because it might be that they say, you know what, we've got 2 weeks of interviews that we're going to be doing, or it might be that, you know, the hiring person's going on vacation the next week, but then the applicant might not know that. They're maybe concerned, well, maybe I didn't interview well, and they haven't heard. We all get busy. Yes, we want to hire awesome people, but sometimes we're not as responsive as we'd like to be out of just respect for crazy busyness. So I think that the first thing is to walk out of the interview with what the expectations are of when a decision is going to be made and what the next step is. And I always have another extreme level of respect when the applicant says, when would you like for me to follow up, and via what method do you want me to follow up? Because, you know, it's like, I'm a guy that can rarely answer the telephone, but if you send me an email, you're going to get a response to it. So email might be the best way to follow up with me, or maybe it might even be a text message or a message to me on Facebook. Whatever is the best method for me and whatever the best method for the applicant. So I think for me, it's really understanding what those expectations are and then delivering those expectations based on who the hiring person is and who the applicant is.
We have another question from a viewer, from Evelyn Molina. When do I begin certification tests? What are the best ways to prepare for them? I will start with Anna on that one.
Sure, that's a good question. For us, I mean, we offer study material for the LARE. So when someone's coming to work for us, we let them know you have this option. We'll let you know if we have study groups forming. I think for the most part within our firm, people will begin studying for their certification after they've gained a little bit of experience working. Maybe after a year or two, they'll start forming study groups, and I think it's easier to take the test when you're taking it with a buddy or you have someone in the office to study with. That's the best advice I could give.
All right. Anybody have anything to add to that? An interesting question. Going back to portfolio, I think we talked about that several times in sending materials in, but what is the best way to arrange your portfolio? I've sent through several portfolio reviews with students and received this question, you know, should I do it by chronology, you know, as I progressed through school, or should I do it grouped by sets, that kind of thing. So I wanted to get some take on that from you guys. Let's start with Kimberly on that.
Sure. I mean, number one, I'd say always put your best work first. You know, if something terrible shows up on the first page, we're unlikely to look to the second page just because of the nature of how many applications we're going through. But the second thing I would say is be thoughtful. Again, if you're applying to a handful of companies and not to every company out there, you can be thoughtful about it. And be thoughtful about what you're looking for in that company and how the work that you've done translates. So if, say, you're applying to a firm with a minimal aesthetic, put your work that shows the most strong minimal aesthetic earlier on in your portfolio, because that's going to resonate with the hiring team of the company you're applying for. Maybe you're in school and you're doing a project that you have to follow certain criteria, or maybe you're at your previous company doing work that you didn't design, and maybe it's not what you yourself like from an aesthetic perspective, but it's strong work. Go ahead and put it in there, but tailor your application to the company you're applying for. We want to see that, you know, in the same way that culture matters in a big way in a design firm, aesthetic is huge. So put your best work first and tailor it to who you're looking to work for.
Okay, thank you. Amy, I'll let you follow up on that too. What do you look for in a portfolio?
Sure. So I really like what Scott said about being thoughtful and relating everything back that you do and present in your portfolio to the firm in which you're applying. I would also go to say that there are certainly no right way and no wrong way to arrange your portfolio. It's all about how you personally want to be perceived as a designer, and it's the the feeling that you get when you walk away from it. So I would agree, present your best work first, and I feel like a broken record, but I'll say it one more time. Show me the depth and breadth of your skill set, and that will always leave me very impressed and feeling like you're an extremely viable candidate for the position that we have.
And I'm going to ask you sort of a follow-up to that. In a portfolio, a lot of students are doing projects. They want to show the work that was done by the group project. What's the best way to differentiate the work that they actually did in the group instead of, sort of taking credit for someone else's work by showing drawings and stuff that they had a small part in? How do you look to know what they actually did in a group project?
Sure. I mean, it's great if they can label it. So if you can label what you've done on your own versus with a team, or if you can find a way to organize teamwork separate from your independent work, that would be the easiest. We always end up asking, did you do it yourself, or was this the work of someone else? So it would be easier to already see that it's labeled and figure it out on our own. But we definitely want to be able to know that you can do both, to work independently and with a team.
Okay, great. We've got a question that has been upvoted here, and I'll start off with Jason on this one. Jumping ahead a little bit, but when and how should I ask for a raise? Go ahead, Jason. Oh, Jason, you there?
Oh, we locked up for just a second. I didn't hear what you said, Daniel.
Yep, I'm throwing this one to you. When and how should I ask for a raise?
Oh, lovely question. So the typical thing, most firms have as part of their HR practices to do a regular review, and I would say that that's at least once a year. I actually encourage my consultant clients to do reviews quarterly or every 6 months, and I think that it is it's okay to discuss a potential raise on that annual review. So if you're hired on June 1st of 2015, in your review that happens hopefully around June 1st of 2016 to discuss changes in compensation. I also think that there's some firms out there that actually publish ways that you can increase pay by getting different certifications or working on a particular team or attending certain educational events. There are of those as well, and I think also a great question, to ask. However, you got to be very careful in the way that you ask it, because I love hiring people who want to come to work for their career and not for a paycheck. And so much emphasis and focus on pay can maybe, kind of tilt you towards somebody who's really focused on how much money you're making rather than having passion and dedication and just awesomeness in your career and working for the firm and being very committed. So one question that you can ask, again, kind of on that element that I was explaining earlier about setting expectations, is, not pre-employment. After you've been employed, maybe after the first month, if you have a sit down with your boss, just say, hey, I want to be very, very committed to the firm. That's my intent. This is, the one and only job that I really, want to have. What steps can I, make that can contribute to the firm's success, which means money or opportunity or clients or whatever it might be, that can also contribute to my success. And to ask that question, honestly and transparently, because your supervisor might come back and say, that you're going to get, this type of a raise, or it's called a COLA raise, cost of living adjustment raise, which is, you can Google search COLA and you'll read what the government says. It's basically how much more is a dozen eggs and a gallon of gas and insurance and those types of things. It's a really tricky question, and I just tell people that they really, truly need to not make it be about money, but make it be about their career. But unfortunately, we all need money to pay the light bill and to put food on the table, so it is something that has to be approached. So When and how should you ask for a raise? I think that you need to be very, very careful, but you also need to be bold. You need to be willing to have that conversation and not be, you know, kind of kicked around by a firm by not receiving that raise that's rightfully yours. So, you know, those are just a couple of little pointers that I think of, you know, relative to asking, you know, for a raise or a change in compensation.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Does anybody else want to weigh in on that one?
I would agree, and I would also encourage people to always consider your total compensation. You know, your salary is not the only thing that you are earning. You are more than likely also earning benefits. Maybe you have a 401k, maybe you have a transportation allowance, etc. Just remember that a lot more goes into your salary than just that number. And again, don't be intimidated to ask. It's simply a conversation, and when you're truly adding value to your firm, it should be recognized. However, just, you know, do your homework. Never make it about the money. Make it about the value that you're adding to your company, to its culture, to its project work, etc.
I have to second Jason and Amy's sentiments.
Question that we'll jump to. It's from Daisy VC, and they ask, what is the best way to network? So I would say we'll look at that as you know, networking once you are a professional, but let's also look at that maybe as what's the best way for a student to network with firms that might eventually lead to employment or internships. Like, where should they go to meet you guys or to meet the principals of your firms? And I can start with Kimberly on that one.
Oh, sure. Well, I probably have a more out-of-the-box answer on this one, just because, again, I'm not much for networking, to be honest. I mean, it's a necessary evil is kind of how I see it. To me, it's all about doing great work, not only as an individual trying to get a job, but as a company looking to get clients. So again, it's kind of a necessary evil. Where can you go? Obviously, the ASLA is a fantastic way to connect with people. Everyone's involved in the ASLA to some degree. So that's a great way to meet people. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's not about, a network can only get you an interview. In the best case scenario, it can get you a job. So I would say focus inward and there's almost more sincerity in doing, you know, great work and focusing your energy there and developing your talents and your skills than it would be to try and connect and network.
All right. I'm going to let Anna cover that one too. Anna, I know that your firm is often at Labash, which is a great place for students to network with each other and also to meet firms, but I'll let you kind of cover that, your experience there maybe, and then where else you think might be good.
Sure. I mean, I agree a lot with what Kimberly said, but we also, I mean, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, and I think that's a great place for students to start. A lot of firms will actually track the amount of times that a student has clicked on their LinkedIn profile. So we see their name, and then we may actually reach out to them ourselves and say, hey, are you interested in EDSA? Can we answer any questions? So it's just a simple conversation. It's a great way to kind of get connected. And also, as you mentioned, Labash is a great place because, you know, you're not many students go to Labash, but the ones that do are the ones that we are able to make that connection with so that when they apply, we know their name. So if you can make it out to a conference, you definitely should, so that, you know, to put that name to the face, it definitely goes a long way.
This is great, everybody. Keep those questions coming, and we'll try to cover as many as we can here.
Hey, Dave, I'd like to weigh in on the last one if possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
So networking for me, I just wanted to do a plug for the ASLA committees and serving on committees and doing, you know, like extracurricular service and that kind of thing. I think that has been a really great way for me to build my network and to stay in touch with people. Did a great thing with landscape forums and the Landscape Architecture Foundation last year, Extreme LA. And like those kinds of things are really ways that your work starts to expand in the first few years that you're gaining experience. And I think ASLA has given a lot of opportunities, or set up a lot of opportunities to get involved as well. And so I think extracurriculars are just, instead of just going to events to meet people, but actually getting involved and meeting people through your work and through doing something collaboratively with them. So I just want to plug the ASLA because it's awesome.
Great, thank you, Amy. That's a great addition. Not just necessarily I'm going to go meet people, but I'm getting involved is a more natural, authentic way to meet people, and probably get a little more out of that. That's a good point. All right, let's move to our next question so we can cover some of them. Monique Bassey asks, what can I do to move up in a firm and take on more leadership roles? Let's do Amy Boyle. You can start that one.
Sure. So to begin with, I think sometimes we often think of leaders as those people who are loud and outspoken and really take charge. I have to say that if that's not your natural personality type, you can be a leader by example. You can be perhaps someone who doesn't say as many words, but when you do speak, you can be sure that people are listening. There's a lot of different kinds of leaders. So I would encourage you to figure out what kind of leader you are, embrace it, and be able to apply techniques to that will make you grow. I think leadership and moving up, it's a lot more about just being willing and able to do anything. To be tired or whatever, and still being willing to lend a hand or help out in whatever. It doesn't have to be project-based. If the dishwasher in the kitchen needs emptying, hop in there and do it. It's a lot more about just making yourself versatile and able to adapt and willing to help out with anything. I always encourage people to just really live the words of there is no task too big or too small. And through living that, you'll really become indispensable, and more opportunities will be given to you. And people, more importantly, will think of you when they need someone to do a certain task or experience something. Just, go the extra mile. Great.
Anybody else want to cover that leadership topic? How to step up into leadership role?
Yeah, I totally agree with what everybody's saying. I think that do what you say and say what you do is a good mentality in terms of people noticing your commitment, and sometimes the most impressive employees to me, team members to me, are ones that just do. That they pick up a ball. I just like what you said. Emptying the dishwasher in the break room. I mean, just those things that maybe aren't necessarily project related, but yet have action behind the words. Because action followed by inaction is one of the most negative things that you can do. So if you say you're going to do something, do it. And a long time ago in my career, I was probably 20 years old. My boss at the time said to me that the cream rises to the top, and he's so true. And so I think that by having that DNA of who you are, that you do what you say that you're going to do, people are going to notice, and you're going to have a deeper opportunity in the organization. And sometimes that element of being, having a kind of a servanthood element where you don't actually have to point it out to people is going to be the best thing, because people will notice your awesome actions inside the firm. At least that's my opinion.
To the next question. Good. All right. Let's look at. We've got two questions actually from. Let's cover this one first. What are some do's and don'ts when you get the job you applied for, and what follows after? So you got the job. Now, what should you do and what shouldn't you do to make sure that you're keeping the job? Let's start with Anna on this.
Sure. So you get the job. You want to know your schedule. You want to make sure you follow up with HR so you know what time to arrive for work. You want to find out what the dress code is, and you want to find out what the training is like. Do you need to learn a new skill set before you start? Do you need to brush up on anything? Those are all important questions. For the most part, most companies will offer some training, but it's a great thing to know before you start.
Oh, Kimberly, are you there?
Oh, sure. Yeah, this is an interesting question. It's particularly interesting for me to answer because our culture is all about being yourself. So it might be unique at our company, but do's and don'ts for us are show up and be yourself and be genuine. Speak up if you have an opinion, even if it's a differing opinion. It's just part of the belief that collaboration only makes everything stronger. So I don't know, show up, get to work, dig in, be yourself. Don'ts, I don't know. It's hard to even come up with a don't, to be honest with you. If you're going to be late, let people know all those good things.
I'd like to say here. Be open-minded. Be a sponge. You're there to learn, and those first few days will be really formative to your relationships with your colleagues and how you will see yourself there for the long term. So just, again, dive in, have fun, learn, grow.
That's good. Never be afraid to learn. It's the saying, if you're the smartest person, you're in the wrong room. So get yourself around people to learn from. Which leads right into our find and how to approach this. Let's start that one. In your organization, or do you recommend that do something like ASLA?
Daniel, I think echo. So all right, is it the top one in the queue? Okay.
All right. Did everybody hear that last question?
No.
All right. How can you and how do you approach those once you find time? And Anna, you got to
Anna, did you get
Yes, I was thinking it was me. I guess part of the working for a larger firm is that there's so many people that can be a mentor, and there's so many people that have so much knowledge and so much experience. I think you may work for a firm that has a mentor program, so that's something that you can ask your HR person even before you start. A mentor-mentee program, or if you work in a studio of designers, a lot of the times that connection just happens naturally, where you might meet someone and after spending a week with them, and you're that sponge that Amy kind of talked about, you have to be a sponge. You may start to form a relationship with this person, and they just can become your mentor through the years. Ask to go to lunch with them, shadow them, ask a lot of questions. You know, there's nothing wrong with asking questions.
All right, do it. Employee is hired or automatically assigned a mentor?
I think you cut out there a little bit, Dan.
It's a Kimberly mentorship question also.
Same question, sure. Well, there's no wrong way to ask a mentor. That's one thing I would say. Yeah. As was echoed earlier, if you're the smartest person in the room, as you said, Dan, you're in the wrong room. So even the fact that you're looking for a mentor is a great thing. So, email is great because it doesn't put someone on the spot, especially they're probably busy. If there's somebody that you want to be learning from, take them out to lunch. But Be bold. That's the main thing. Just ask for help. Most people are happy to help if they can.
Yeah, there's also the ACE mentorship program. You can look that up. Looking for people to mentor, so that's a good place to start looking to. All right, let's ask. This is coming into the field to ask, especially depending on the studio work is in school hours. Question is it normal to work overtime while receiving base salary? And how many hours per week is normal to work? Let's let Amy start with that one.
So, in a deadline-driven environment, I think that you're prepared that you need to work the hours that it takes to get the job done. That should never mean that you have to be here at your office all night long and on the weekend, but it does mean that you should be prepared to work smartly to accomplish what needs to be done and fully leverage teamwork, leverage being able to delegate tasks. Just work in the smartest way that you possibly can. You know, on top of that, I have to say that at our firm, of course, you know, deadlines sneak right up on you. Clients want last-minute changes. It's not always predictable. But you should have a good enough environment in your office, and you should have a good enough rapport with your manager or to whomever you report to be able to talk to them if you've gone through a particularly difficult period and you did have to work late all week or something like that. You should be able to have a very open and honest conversation with them and just be like, hey, I haven't checked my mail all week. Do you mind if I take an hour off this afternoon once the deadline is passed so that I can attend to some of the other things I've neglected over the week? So, you know, the short answer is yes, it is normal and natural in a deadline-driven environment to have weeks that are busier than others. But you should also know that over the, you know, the big picture, it should even out, and you should always prioritize your work-life balance so that you don't burn out.
All right. Jason, let's let you weigh in on that one and see what you think about working overtime and how many hours a week should be expected.
Oh, I was sorry. That's okay. I firmly believe. I'm hearing myself. Is there echo or? I firmly believe that overtime is necessary when you're in a professional environment. It just is. The high level, which I wanted to try to address, is just kind of the HR piece of it. Is that as a professional, as someone with a professional designation who is likely a salary exempt employee, which is the legal term for it, there is no overtime. I mean, meaning you're going to work more than 40 hours a week, but salary is encompassing. And I think that what Amy said is spot on. Typically, it all kind of works out in the wash. You might be on a tight deadline and might have to put some hours, but then there might be times like around the holidays, for example, when typically business in general slows down, where you might be able to work shorter days or shorter hours. And so I think that from a high-level HR perspective, it's very normal to work overtime. I mean, I would be shocked if all of us on this webinar, if we actually logged all the hours that we put in at work, whether that be sitting at our desk, or also just on our phones, emailing, or on our laptops on the couch in the evening, we clearly work more than 40 hours, and that's the difference between somebody who's a professional and who is focused on a career and committed to a firm, and I think that's just an expectation. And so you have to protect yourself. But I also think that when life events happen, like a family event or whatnot, to communicate those things well in advance to your supervisor will really help to be able to make sure that that time is opened up for you. But I think that you just expect that you're going to have to put in, some great hours, but those hours will be handsomely rewarded and an amazing career in this industry.
All right. We are down to our last 5 minutes here, so the last question probably that we'll be able to cover is looking to find what are the differences between working at a small firm versus besides just the size. So let's start with Anna on. So why don't you talk about a little bit of a large firm and what you think the differences might be on that?
Sure. Well, EDSA is a little bit on the larger side. So I think one of the great things about working here is you know, the capacity of projects that we're able to take on, as well as the various support departments that we have here. You know, we have a marketing department, we have an HR department, we've got all multiple committees that a small firm may not have that same luxury. So when an employee needs to register for their LARE exam or register for a conference, a lot of the times they'll, instead of having it themselves, they have the luxury of coming to one of us to help them out. Also, there's a lot of subject experts here. So if you need someone who really knows Photoshop really well, you know at least 5 people you can go to that will be able to assist you. Or if you need someone that knows Revit, you know exactly where to go. So there's people in various departments that really you have the luxury of having so many people with so many different experiences.
All right, I'm going to throw it to Kimberly and get her take on that from different sized firm. Kimberly, and it looks like you're muted. Hold on one second. I'm going to unmute you for that. All right, go ahead, Kimberly.
Yeah, I've got the opposite perspective, and obviously I'm partial to the small firms since that's where I come from. We're a tight-knit team of 14 right now. But my biggest impression would be difference in scope of practice. Whether you're an intern or a principal here at our firm, you're exposed to everything, all phases of design, and even all aspects of the business. A larger firm, by contrast, may have someone whose sole focus is rendering. Another difference would be team or culture. It's just simply easier to build a cohesive team and to be in tune with what everyone else is doing in a company where everyone intimately knows everyone else. And I don't know, I think it's impossible to intimately know everyone in a 100-person company. And along with the team piece, you know, last bonus, dogs. We've got 3 dogs roaming around here, and I don't know, I haven't seen a company with over 50 people with dogs in the office. So benefits. I could go on forever. It's my favorite topic.
We've got a couple dogs.
All right, so dogs. If you're interested in dogs, you're looking for a smaller firm or the design workshop. All right. Well, guys, that pretty much wraps up our hour. Does anybody have any last-minute closing comments? Anything they want to throw out there before we call it a day?
I just want to thank everyone for including me in this. It was so wonderful, and I hope that we can continue to collaborate in the future for similar sessions. So I think we have a whole lot of knowledge to share. So thank you again.
Yes, thank you, everyone. It's an honor to be on the panel and exciting to be in the conversation with everyone.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks so much for having me. And I would also say that, you know, we spent a few moments talking about networking, and I think that, you know, one step would be is to please network with all of us. We've got these awesome colleagues that are here on this webinar, and I myself, I mean, I'm so happy to answer questions about people's resumes and cover letters and interviewing, you know, strategies or whatnot. So, you know, follow all of us on our online, you know, profiles. Dan, I don't know if there's a way to send that out to people who are on the Hangout now, but I'm more than happy to continue the conversation after this webinar.
Me too.
Same. Well, great. I think this has become a really great resource for emerging professionals. So thank you guys so much. It's really awesome.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you, everybody. We will put some contact information. The ASLA AMA page. so that anyone who wants to follow up questions to the panelists can contact them directly, and I'm certain, as they all said, they would be more than happy to help you with questions. So thank you to all of our panelists. Thank you to all of those who viewed and joined us. And we will be keeping you posted on upcoming future Ask Me Anything events. So thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Awesome. See you guys. Bye.
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 Thank you, everybody.